Welcome to the Lonely Marketers podcast. In this episode, I'm joined by Marie Simmons, Senior Marketing Business Partner at Randstad. Marie has worked in recruitment marketing for a decade and finds the fast-paced nature to be addictive, don't we all? She shares her journey from being a lonely marketer to managing a team to working amongst a larger marketing team at the world's biggest recruitment company. We talk about the power of mutual mentorship and how recruitment marketing is like playing the Legend of Zelda. So let's find that Triforce. So it's a Friday morning when we're recording this, so it's a lovely way to start a Friday and end the week. It's sunny in Stockport, which is
it's sunny in Kent too. So
yeah. So Marie, it's always good to chat to someone who's, I'm not going to put ages on this, but you've got as much, if not more, recruitment marketing experience now than me, which is amazing because you can teach me everything I don't know. And what's fascinating about your background is the different types of company you've worked at. You're now working at, I think I'm right in saying, the biggest recruitment company in the world.
yeah,
So yeah, as a recruitment marketer, I don't think we could have many guests on who've been there and seen it from different sizes of companies. So firstly, you must love recruitment marketing, don't we all?
something like that. Yeah, and it's interesting to hear you say that because the imposter syndrome that you get as a marketer, you kind of think like, oh, I'm still quite new. I've only been doing it for like 10, 12 years. But yeah, you're
10,
probably
12
right
years.
to quite a lot of different businesses over that time.
Average tenure of a job's about 2 years these days, right? So to do 10, 12 years in the same industry, if you think about the vast amount of marketing jobs you could do across a range of sectors, I think it's a substantial amount of experience. So what is it that keeps you engaged in being a recruitment marketer?
I find the pace of working in a recruitment business a bit addictive. I like that we do lots of different things. So we do marketing for talent attraction, we do marketing for client engagement and growth and business to business attraction. Also often get involved in internal comms and internal recruitment. Being able to have lots of different hats on and the pace in which you can make decisions and make impact and track that impact it's addictive. And I feel like I've always enjoyed that working in recruitment businesses. You never think that they're the most forward thinking when it comes to marketing as a sector. However,
Yeah,
they kind of I've seen over the period of time that I've worked in the industry, actually they do recognise the impact that marketing has, and I've seen that growth and got more and more involved in actually the strategic leadership of recruitment businesses as well. So yeah, it's addicting.
addicting. That's a good. That gives us a headline. Recruitment marketing is addictive.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think anyone. So I did my degree in media comms, and I don't think
yeah,
anyone sat there and thought, "Oh, I really want to go into marketing in a recruitment agency." I didn't even know it existed. I knew a little bit about HR, and I knew about maybe comms within the third sector, and had lots of different ideas. So I never knew anything about the industry, but I landed in it in my first grad role, and I kind of got a taste for it. And then I haven't.
yeah.
I don't think I could go into other industries as easily because it doesn't have that pace and it doesn't have that ability to make change quite quickly. And I'd really miss that.
Yeah, yeah. You're institutionalized. Unfortunately, you're a
Yeah.
lifetime recruitment marketer. Yeah, I'm very similar. Well, I did a marketing degree, and my first job was at a recruitment company. A first proper marketing job was at a recruitment company, so I didn't really know anything different. I did get the opportunity to get out, and I got back in after 10 months because of that exact thing you described. Whether it was just a bad choice going into the legal profession, I don't know, but that pace was just alien to me, having worked in a recruitment business. So, yeah, that addictive nature, I suppose there's a little bit of addiction when it comes to sales and that fast-paced environment that we're in an industry where you can't help but get some of that rub off on you, even if you're not like the commission money motivated person. That nature, it does rub off on us, right? We do get a bit more competitive, and yeah, I think you're right that it's just always something to do, isn't there?
Yeah, there's never a day where you're sat around twiddling your thumbs. And I don't think there are in many roles, but being able to create a strategy and then know how you're going to influence that and how that's going to help grow the business or launch or so. Yeah, it has that reward to it.
What would you say? What would you say is the big changes, if any, that you've seen over that period of time where you've worked across different businesses in the sector in terms of sales as view? So desks, are not thinking of directors, but literally recruitment consultants at a desk. Have you noticed a shift in their attitude towards marketing and marketers?
I would love to say yes, and I do think there are. I do think that it's starting to develop over time. I have kind of almost specialised myself within the niche of recruitment marketing, so I tend to work only with construction and engineering sector recruitment businesses, and I
Yeah,
think they're sometimes even a little bit further behind the recruitment industry as a
that's
whole.
interesting.
Um, it's certain tools and techniques that we still use. So people still call me up and say, I'd like job credits on CV Library. I was literally having those calls 12 years ago using the
Yeah,
same ad courier dashboard. And you think, God, why am I still doing the same things? But I think what has changed over time, along with my kind of skill level and my experience as well, I guess, is being able to say, great, I know that that there's no doubt that they play a part in the marketing mix in terms of advertising job adverts, but that's the foundations,
yeah,
that's the basics. Let's get that sorted that way, and then let's have a conversation. What are your challenges right now? What are the top 3 reasons why talent is not wanting to move a role or hasn't accepted a job offer? Tell me about those, and let's see if we can build in other strategies to help you attract and retain those sort of talent through the process, rather than just focusing on the basics. And I think
yeah,
consultants are much more open to those conversations than they ever were. Um,
yeah,
but at a management and a leadership level, I think we have a seat at the table now. And we can talk about, and I feel like we're very involved in the tech side of it, the marketing operations side of it, sales enablement. That's definitely changed the most over that time period. Um,
yeah, yeah. An invitation. Yeah, of course, of course. Some things, as much as we like to think it, they don't and arguably won't change. But that operations side, that's an interesting one because I've always been a bit tech minded or interested in that, and I was always a bugbear of mine why marketers can't touch the CRM at some organisations I work with. It made no sense whatsoever. Um, ha, with that in mind, it comes with blessings and curses, right? Because what I find in marketing roles is you end up getting sucked into what I class as non-marketing operation stuff, CRM database stuff that, yeah, you want it to be right, but is that marketing? How have you handled that over the years? Because sometimes there's a desire to fix it and make it right because it'll make marketing easy or easier. It's never easy. Um, but when you get absorbed in that, it takes you away from doing any marketing. But it's chicken and egg
mhm,
because if the foundations aren't right, you can't measure things. How have you struck a balance with that over the different roles you've had?
mhm. I think that I'm never sure I've got the balance right, and I think that's part of
Mhm.
the journey as well,
The
isn't it? I think,
fun.
yeah, and I'm quite tech minded too. I think that we need the tools and techniques in place in order to measure our effectiveness and actually deliver what we need to deliver. Um, so I've always got involved in the tech, made sure that I've understood it, but also
Yeah,
in and delegating kind of feels like the wrong word, like empowering other people in the business to take ownership of that and recognize what their role to play is, down to kind of like a business operations level. Like if you don't know how
yeah,
to use this tool and you don't know how to do it, that's preventing you being able to do your correct job correctly as well. So it's all about kind of sharing that responsibility and empowering other people in the business to get excited and get involved in those processes as well. um, I think that's probably how I struck the balance. In the role that I'm in now, it's a much larger business. We're quite a well-established,
yeah.
well, the marketing team, we are very light in terms of headcount still, but we have a team
Okay.
based on skills. So you have someone who has that digital skill set, you have someone that has the right skill set to support each other. So we're not all just trying to do a little bit of everything. We're kind of really aligned to what our skill set is, and that has definitely helped a lot as well.
That's an interesting point. It gives me a nice move on to like team structure and how that differs at different size companies. A lot of people listening, given the name of the community we're all part of, will be sat there on their own. Some will be in two, three, maybe four-person teams. They probably hear the word Randstad and think, well, you must have a huge team. You must have everyone in every specialism, strategists, generalists. But you've just hinted that that might not be the case. You're a bit light on headcount, and I guess in the context of the size of the company. Can you talk us through that? What the structure is like, how it looks, and I can see a wry smile. So you're thinking we're short staffed.
Yeah. And I think that I've been a lonely marketer and I've been in small teams and I've seen all of the different dynamics. And I have to admit, moving to a large team has been a challenge for me because I'm so used
Right.
to being the person that owns it and is responsible for delivering it. And that has required a bit of a mindset shift in terms of trusting your colleagues and getting everyone's expertise together. And that's definitely been a learning curve for me.
Yeah.
But we were having conversations just last week about actually in comparison to the number of headcount the business has, we're like less than 1%. So although we
Yeah.
are considerably
That's
quite a large
that's
market
really
team,
interesting.
when you think about the number of consultants or the number of sales professionals that we actually support, I'm actually worse off than I was when
Yeah.
I was a lonely marketer in some
When it was just
businesses.
you.
So exactly, yeah. So our current team is
Yeah, and
very
it's not all in your head either, is it? Like you've said, trust in your colleagues, and I would imagine there's the hiring mechanisms and patterns of where people have come in. It's you've not been involved in that team structure prior to you being there for obvious reasons. Whereas when we've been in similar roles, maybe 50 headcount businesses, and you are the only marketer, and then you hire people, everything's in your head, right?
and that and being able to kind of like at the moment I don't have any direct reports and I'm so used to having a team that I would support and nurture and you finding their interest and that's part of the job that I really enjoy is kind of like
Yeah,
seeing people either new to marketing or new to the recruitment industry and seeing that kind of the things clicking in their head and the cogs turning about how they can change and kind of drive the business forward. So yeah, it has been. But then equally, it's been quite freeing as well because when
hmm
you are in smaller teams, you think, "Oh God, well, I don't know how to do that," or that seems really kind of scary. Like, oh, onboarding a whole new website platform that would take up your entire life for months at a time planning that things out. Now I can take a step back and I'm part of a team. I'm not solely responsible for anything anymore. And I think that allows
yeah,
for a little bit more creativity and collaboration and better products as a result as well. Even if it
yeah.
takes a bit longer to get there, actually you do get better outputs at the end. And that's the exciting part of it.
Yeah, that's interesting because we probably all uh what's the best way to describe this without pissing anyone off? We've probably all been part of recruitment businesses where design by committee or decisions by committee becomes a thing. And that's often really difficult as a marketer when the committee isn't made up of other marketers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like working with a team of marketers who have different experience, different commitments, like you said, it usually ends up with a better result?
I genuinely do. I think it does, and I think when you can trust and lean into that, like marketing colleagues, you do get better outputs, and we see campaigns performing really well. Equally, I think that I trust them to fail, so we can try some things. It hasn't worked, so let's try something else. And whereas when you're in teams of non-marketers, I think there's a lot of pressure to prove that marketing's working, and therefore you have to get it right the first time. Well, that's the pressure that I've got on
Yeah,
myself. Um,
yeah,
that
yeah.
really,
That's interesting again because it stops with you, doesn't it? And it's like, well, just
Mhm.
because my job title is marketing manager, head of marketing, whatever it is, doesn't mean I will get everything right first time because I've not tried this before. We've not tried this before. So
Yeah.
my job is to almost make educated decisions on what we think will work best, apply experience, but there's never a guarantee it's going to pan out and be amazing
Mhm.
or work or generate revenue. So yeah, there's less forgiveness, I imagine, when people say, "Well, you told us to do this, and it's your job. You're the expert." Whereas if you're a
Yeah.
team, it's almost like, "Okay, did that creative work over that one? Well, you working with the more creative person designing something, you've you've got forgiveness already that it might not
Mhm.
work out. So that fosters a better working relationship, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I've got people to bounce ideas off. I've got backup. I've
Yeah,
got someone to moan to. So that definitely has helped. But I'm in quite a different role here. So my job title now is senior marketing business partner, which I
yeah.
don't think many other marketers would have that job title. It's almost the
What
equivalent
what
to
does that mean? Because yeah, what does that mean? Yeah, talk us through that one because I don't think many people. Well, let's face it. There's no other company as big, and then there's only a handful of other organisations getting anywhere near the size. So if you think about the scale of the industry, you've got one at the top, you've got four or five underneath that, and then it's a really like
Mm,
textbook example of a long tail down to one man band recruitment agencies, and they go on forever. The majority of marketers listening to this will probably sit in anywhere from 15 to a couple of hundred headcount,
mhm,
not
mhm.
thousands.
Yeah.
So yeah, what is business partner?
Mhm. Yeah, I've had to reflect on that a lot the last 10 months. So it's the equivalent to maybe like a head of marketing. So when I think back to, I look after just one division of Randstad, which is the construction, property and engineering division. And as a business partner, my role is to understand the actual business unit's challenges and opportunities and communicate those to the marketing team so we best align our resources to meet them.
Okay,
And then in return, it's helping to educate, coach, and kind of mentor the business division on the wider marketing journey of the Randstad UK, but also Randstad globally as well, in
yeah,
terms of tools and techniques and the changing face of talent attraction. Do a lot of talk about like marketing trends and events and things like that, and kind of bringing them on that journey as well. Um,
yeah,
so it's really, I feel like a bit of a middlewoman sometimes in terms of between the two teams, but almost deliberately because when you've got such a big marketing team, you don't know who to go to talk to. You
yeah,
become marketing, not a person. So I'm your business partner. I'm your person that you can call up,
yeah,
have a human conversation with, build that relationship. And then in return, I'll get you the best marketing resources and campaigns that are going to align to what's going to grow your business. Um,
yeah. So
so
they're not having to educate either end of that scale aren't having to educate or be educated from scratch. You've got experienced marketers, but you then play the role of the translator where you've got to limit what I can see that working really well.
hmm,
Hard job for you, but the marketers at the end have someone who gets it, translating or kind of limiting the requests, when they're nonsense requests. Whereas without someone like you in the middle, you can just imagine the graphic designer or whoever it might be just getting hit by a recruitment director going, "Yeah, I want you to design this PDF." It's like
yeah,
they're not going to push back. They're not going to say why. They just start, and then they're like, "Well, where do I start?" So
hmm,
you push back against that. Obviously, it's a very vague example, but your job is to say, "Well, why do you want a PDF? What are you trying to
hmm,
actually do?"
yeah, why?
Then yeah, convince them actually that might not be the right course of action. However, what I've seen work in the past is this, and then you go to the marketing team, and whatever this is gets created. Makes a
Yeah,
lot of sense. I
yeah,
think it mirrors what larger organizations do in different industries, which, let's face it, our industry doesn't tend to follow that pattern. So
yeah.
that is interesting.
And I think I've seen it in other teams, like in other businesses I've worked, you've always seen HR business partners, and you've always seen like IT business
Yeah.
partners, and that role is quite, and you've seen that work quite well. But I've never seen it in marketing before. Um,
Oh,
and I can see how it's working now. And I think equally when you work in such a large business and such a large marketing team, you have to prioritize. You can't be
yeah.
all things to all people, and we've got divisions that do education and healthcare, we've got enterprise level accounts, we're doing spot recruitment, or so how could one team understand and prioritize that effectively? So what I can then do is actually identify the areas that are going to have the biggest impact and align our limited marketing budget to get the most bang for your buck. Because previously it'd probably be what team is shouting the loudest or who's got clothing. Well, actually, if we want to grow the business, you need to focus on the areas that need the most support, and I think that's the biggest thing that it's helping as well. Definitely, yeah. It's been
Yeah,
a really unique role in terms of I sometimes feel a little bit like a lone wolf again with a big team because I'm
yeah.
sat between the two, but I think the benefits outweigh the risk in this size of business.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of relationship building required and almost partner. Yeah, you're partnering
Yeah.
with them because you're trying to plan resource. So it's like you said, it is like a head of marketing role where you're like, I've got all these different demands, I've got these resources, and the resources tend to be money or people.
Mhm.
Everyone wants everything. How do I best not just keep people happy, but show them that you're there to listen to their, you're there to help them out. You'll listen to them, but equally show that you've got a level of experience and strength to say that's probably not the right course of
Mhm.
action. What interests me about that kind of responsibility for certain sectors, so niche within the recruitment business, how does that? And I appreciate your 10 months, so you might not be able to answer this comprehensively, but how does it feel like when we hit those typical peaks and troughs? It's a good market, it's a bad market, it's a client market, it's a candidate market. How does that work then when you've, I imagine, got equivalents who are looking after different sectors and your sector might be on a downturn while theirs isn't? How does that work internally?
I don't know yet, as you probably identify. I can see we would align and we change resources as we go. I've always been a
Yeah,
fan of not writing a 12-month marketing plan. You throw it out the
yeah,
window because things change too quickly. So I tend to work in quarters and say, okay, what are the priorities this quarter for the business, and then reassess them each time. And I'd imagine that's how we're going to have to do it. So at the right, although construction as an industry at the moment isn't the strongest it's ever been, it's still incredibly talent short. So my kind of
yeah,
key focus is talent attraction and looking at emerging talent pools and things like that. Where in other areas of the business, they're focusing on winning new business or retaining business. So our priorities, we have the freedom to choose the priorities that are going to work best for our sector and then feed them
yeah.
back into the marketing team, and they will shift and change it throughout the year. There's always going to be the foundations though that you need to work on all the time. So in terms of like the positioning of the business and the content strategy and things like that, they're going to go in 12-month or longer cycles. But in terms of
Yeah.
actually the priorities at campaign level or things like that, I think would need to be adjusted more frequently to balance across the business.
But you can borrow from each other then, right? So if you do something particularly successful for candidate attraction, bear in mind differences in different industries, but if
Mm.
you successfully launch a type of campaign or a type of media, whatever it may be, then your colleagues can benefit from that and vice versa if their sectors are in different stages of that cycle.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think we have a buying power as well for different things. So we can come together and negotiate with suppliers because we've got that volume. And in other areas, we might have niche suppliers that we want to go out for separately. So yeah, we work as a team across all that senior leadership level.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's quite
Mhm.
exciting as well. It's just a totally different kind of role, a
Yeah.
rare one, but a nice to have one. So, like, given your experience, obviously some stuff never changes. You're still using the same like career dashboard and CV library credits, but lots of things do change,
Yeah.
and obviously you can't shy away from technology as a major factor in that. What are you seeing that you think, we're probably 12, 18 months into the AI boom as such? Perhaps outside of that, what are you seeing on the horizon? Like people will now be thinking about plans for 2025, regardless of whether it should be quarterly focused or not. But people do start to get that, right, we're nearly in quarter four. What are we going to do next year that's a little bit different? What's on the horizon that you're thinking that is really exciting for the sector?
I think I know that we talk about AI as a tool, but I think AI should be seen as a bit more of a concept. And there's so many different ways that tools can use that to benefit the marketing team. So I think it is going to be looking at programmatic talent attraction campaigns and the use of AI within that, also using it as generating content, and
Yeah.
supporting kind of speeding up that process of generating content and analysing results. And so I still think that we're going to be using a lot of tools to harness artificial intelligence to better our
Yeah. Yeah.
processes.
Because like my thought on it at first, everyone like let's just go to the generative AI to create content as the probably the most well-known concept. I think it's
Mhm.
vast outside of that, but that's the first one that people say, oh, this is going to change the world, it's going to take people's jobs. It's not.
No.
But I think we've gone past, I think where people fell foul and why it generates the same content and the repetitive stuff is people go straight in and just say, write me this blog. They don't have a conversation with it and just say, right, I'm thinking of this. What do you think? This is that. What do you think? I think, well, personally, that's the next evolution where you've almost got a sidekick there and you're going, will this work? Can you give me this? And it becomes more conversational. It
And
comes with its pitfalls, right? Recruitment companies, perhaps not the scale of yours, but I'd say, I don't want to scaremonger on this podcast, but people outside of marketing will just see some of that as, well, why do we need marketing?
mhm.
That's a scary thought, right?
It is, but I'm so confident that I can use AI to make me better at my role. I don't think it could ever replace us because we
Yeah,
use our skills in so many different ways. We are a skilled trade, for want of a better term, and it's
yeah,
about our ability to look at the business and have conversations with other people and understand the challenges and opportunities and interpret market trends and how we then
yeah.
apply it to marketing tactics. I don't believe that AI could ever do that as successfully. But what it
Hmm.
can do is it mean that I can generate more content at pace. I can feed
Yeah.
results from campaigns into AI tools and get us better insights and better performing campaigns based on the data that we have available and speed up the decisions that we're making as well. Um,
Yeah. So it's using we've gone down a bit of a rabbit hole of AI rather than any other future things, but
yeah.
it's using it, and I suppose the advice that sounds like it's coming from you is use it as part of your role before someone can think this entire thing can take your role. So if you do 5 things regularly yourself, 2 of them might be things you can automate or ask AI to do for you. So as quick as possible, get the AI doing them 2 bits, give you more time to do
Exactly.
the 3 bits where it needs your skill and experience.
Mm. So one of the most accessible ways that I've used these sort of tools is by doing interviews with subject matter experts and talking to them about their sector and then using AI to write up my call transcript into a piece of content.
Yeah,
And that way I
yeah,
can turn around thought leadership articles so quickly by focusing
yeah,
on what I'm good at. I'm not a very good writer at all. It's not my skill set. I'm not a content person, but I'm good at talking and I'm good at asking questions and I'm good at understanding the market. So I'm
yeah.
kind of using it to generate content at a higher pace. Um,
It goes back to that point of don't just give it a write me a blog about this, because it's what we've got accessible right now is going to draw on existing data. What you're saying there is feed it first hand data, so it's not pulling
yeah,
this from the ether, it's
yeah,
or pulling it from an encyclopedia of data it's got. You're giving it fresh information, but it can write that up much quicker than we can sit there and type it and wheel and are about should I construct a sentence this way or that way.
mm,
The
mm,
AI can give you that draft based on first-hand data, and then you've got enough within you to look at it and go, oh, I'll just tweak that sentence or that sentence, or that doesn't quite sound like Dave, who I've just
mm.
interviewed, so I'll tweak it slightly. Like you said, it's the pace, isn't it? So it's augment your current processes with AI where it makes sense to.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we're talking about future trends of marketing and what I see coming, I see it being less the tech and tools and actually our people skills and our ability to have those conversations and be human and relate to other humans. That's something no other tech and tool can do. Um, I
Yeah,
don't. Did you ever, are you into video games? Have you ever played like Zelda or any of those sort of things?
Yeah.
You know the
Yeah,
concept?
I've got to admit, I've spent 2 years convincing my wife to get my son a Nintendo just so I could get back into Zelda, and it took 2 years because she just kept saying
Yeah.
he's too young. But last Christmas, I managed to get my way, and yeah, so Zelda's been back on the horizon this year, even at 40 years old. But I don't mind
Well,
admitting that.
during COVID, I got myself a new Nintendo Switch, and I got really back into it again in those kind of lockdown periods of kind of playing. But I I always imagine it like a video game. And if you think of in Zelda, they teach you a skill in like a shrine or like a tutorial, and they say, right, these are the
Yeah,
buttons to press, and these are the things that you can do, and this is your arsenal of skills that you have. You then use the same combinations of buttons to do every single boss throughout that game and every single shrine. And you might get
yeah,
better weapons, you might get a stronger weapon that lasts longer or hits more points, but you're still pressing the same buttons. Marketing is
yeah,
the same. The tools can get better, they can get shinier, but the fundamentals of marketing stay the same that you learn as you went. So sometimes I can feel like I'm repeating myself a lot and thinking, right, okay, well, first we need to understand our audience and let's do some personas and let's understand the channel mix. But they're the fundamentals. We have to have those in place. It's then how we
yeah.
build them to use the tools as we go that's important.
I
Um,
think that's my favorite ever analogy.
yeah, if you haven't played video games, you don't really get it.
Yeah, but yeah, it's that's I've never thought of it in that simplistic nature of there's repetition at the core. It's the things around the edges that change,
Mm-hmm.
and that is somewhat the danger if you're speaking to people about why the copy's been written in a certain way. It's because we've looked at what the audience has said, we've looked at the language that they use, and yeah, if you did 20 interviews with customers, AI can help you gather here's the most common thing people have said, but you've still got
Yeah,
to ask the AI to do that. So, but the
yeah,
video game, especially the Zelda one, that's a really good analogy. I think you might have just whatever we said earlier was a great headline. I think you might have just renamed the podcast episode. Um, but no, I love that insight.
mm,
Yeah, and at its core, I think it's the difference if someone says like learn marketing on the job versus learn marketing as part of a more traditional education field. I don't disagree. You can learn it on the job, but I think the fundamentals that you learn by reading a textbook or those things that
mm,
never change um, still ring true, don't they? You could bring it on. It's somewhat the difference between strategy and tactics. If you've
mm.
not thought about strategy, yeah, you can come in and do the tactical stuff, but you might be swinging a sword aimlessly because you're not quite sure what you're trying to achieve with it.
Exactly. And I
That's
think,
really interesting.
and I consider myself a generalist and a strategist rather than someone who's got a skill set in a particular area. Don't get me wrong, I did a course on how to HTML code emails back when I started in my marketing career, and I still use that now. I still jump into the code and
Yeah,
make bits where I can't get the interface to do what I want. I don't necessarily need that technical skill set now because tools
yeah,
have evolved and they've done it. But what I do use every day is my ability to have conversations and pick up threads and build relationships. And I think some of the most powerful upskilling that I've done in the last few years is on leadership and management and project management over and
okay,
above marketing. And that's maybe a little bit controversial when talking to a marketing community, but actually, I think if you're looking at furthering your career and you're looking at performing better, particularly in larger businesses, think about your people skills and your ability to project manage over technical skill sets, because they will change and
yeah.
evolve over
Learn the languages of
time.
the people that are making decisions. We get frustrated as marketers by not being given a seat at the table, but it's often because no one's ever heard us speak about the things that get talked about around the table.
Yeah.
So you've got to start to shift to that mindset to get that invitation almost. So learning broader business skills, um, people management skills, stakeholder management skills, relationship building's at the core of that, right? So being able to speak to people, put yourself out there a little bit and force the issue. So yeah, I think that's great advice for people to start thinking, right, yes, I've done 3 years, 4 years in a marketing role. I'm great at a couple of niche skill sets, but I want to develop into a manager or a director at some point ahead of. So your advice there is as soon as possible, start thinking about business and relationships.
Yeah, and I've had quite a traditional education in terms of I went to university for 3 years, and then I've done it's a little bit to I did like a level 5 apprenticeship on leadership and management. So I've gone quite traditional. You can pick up those
Yeah.
skills in different ways. You don't have to do it the same route and sign up for 12-month courses and all of those sort of things. I just particularly like to torture myself and steal my weekends away from me, focusing on writing essays and things like that. But I think that
As if the day job isn't punishing,
I have to, yeah. But I find that constructing a marketing strategy is so similar to some of the coursework I was doing and the processes that I followed. And I know that some people can feel like, oh, I never use kind of algebra that I learned in school in my day-to-day life. But when it comes to my marketing and leadership, I do. I use the skill sets and the things that I learned in this on a day-to-day basis in my role. They're so applicable. So it was worth investing in that. But get yourself a mentor somewhere else in the business or a coach or something informal that you can bounce ideas off and can help translate marketing into something that's understandable by everybody in the business. It can be
Yeah.
achieved in lots of different ways.
Mentoring's an interesting one. It's been raised in TLM a few times, and I know successfully people have got in touch with each other. So perhaps people earlier in the career with others that have got more experience. Have you had mentors? Do you mentor anyone at the minute? How's that impacted your career?
Mm. So I've done a lot of mentoring in the past, not within necessarily the marketing community, but I worked with a charity called the Girls Network, which is a really fantastic
Okay.
charity. They were originally London-based, but they're based all over the UK. And it's like partnering you up with young girls from low socioeconomic backgrounds and doing one-to-one session with them to build their confidence to pursue
Yeah.
professional careers. And I give that background for a reason because I get more out of mentoring young girls than I'm sure that they get out of me. Because having that ability to connect with the community and to talk about some of your experience and hear their challenges and it boosts my confidence so much and I enjoy hearing about their lives and I did that for maybe 5 or 6 years and I understood
Yeah.
the power of a mentor so much, but also the power of a mentee and that relationship
Yeah.
in a new way. And so now I kind of focus on a bit of a concept of mutual mentoring. So it doesn't just have to be
Okay.
someone who's been in their career for decades and someone who's just joined the business and having that kind of power dynamic, but actually, how can I mutually mentor my colleagues? And one of the things
Yeah.
I requested as soon as I joined this business and something that's just come to fruition is a mentor. And it's a mutual mentor, it's another business partner from a different area of the business. And we go and I talk to
Yeah.
her about my challenges. And she kind of gives me ideas from a completely different L&D perspective, and I hope in return that I can do the same, and we share resources across teams, and I found mutual mentoring to be so powerful.
Wow. I've never heard the phrase before. I don't
Mm,
mind admitting I've never really thought about it like that before, but I kind of, in a weird way, I kind of do it already. I meet up with an
yeah,
ex-colleague. We're both in similar kind of, how do you describe it? Similar roles ultimately at very different businesses. And I've had that where he's like said a few things over a coffee or lunch, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've never thought about it like that. But we look at each
yeah,
other as mates and ex-colleagues rather than mentors. But I guess that's
exactly.
mutual
It's mutual
mentoring.
mentoring.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, really interesting concept.
And we do it within kind of the Randstad world. I kind of learned a lot from the ED&I space in terms of that we're inviting colleagues from marginalised backgrounds to mutually mentor the senior leadership team. So actually that they can learn leadership skills, but then they can learn more about the challenges of those individuals in the business and help improve the business for them. So that's kind of, I learned so much more about the term because of that. But I think we can adopt it ourselves. If you know that you can get out as much from mentoring someone as you can from being a mentee, you're much more willing to volunteer your time. And I've taken that from the TLM community as well. Like, there's that group chat and the London meeting. Like you start to build those relationships. How can you? We're doing it all the time, aren't we? We're mutually mentoring each other all of the time within the community. So it doesn't have to be formal as well. It can be snacks, mentoring snacks.
Mentoring snacks. That's another headline. We're going to struggle for what's going to take the headline. Yeah, that's interesting because we're a community, aren't we? And we all, people give and take information. It's not always about marketing. Sometimes it is those broader challenges, like how do you approach this? So yeah, I think the value we get from that, it's interesting to think about it from a less formalized way. So I think I still like the idea of a broader TLM mentoring kind of system or setup, which I'm looking into. But equally, it doesn't. I think it's intimidating, isn't it? To is that my mentor, or what do I have to do? It almost feels like you're going to have a second boss. So taking that away from it and making it more more casual, I suppose. Casual mentor snacks. We've rattled through 40 minutes. I can't believe how fast it's gone. So I think the level of insight is really valuable. I'm going to go back to something that's a bit more. It can be controversial depending on your answer. So what's the one thing you see the recruitment marketing community doing that you just think, oh, give it up? Like, everyone's jumping on a bandwagon or something. You just think you're all just pissing in the wind.
It's interesting. I think, this could be controversial, couldn't it? I think it is the whole one-way conversation, like chucking ideas out into the ether without engaging in a conversation. And I think recruitment naturally attracts a certain personality type, doesn't it? And I think you have to have a certain confidence and resilience to be successful in the role. But I think there could be a lot of people in recruitment that like the sound of their own voices, and like talking about their expertise, and they like and I wish that people would adopt a bit more of a show don't tell attitude towards building brand awareness, particularly at a consultant level or like an influence level, if that makes sense. So that's the bit.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, like it's very much promoting self-interest, when actually recruitment, if you boil it down to the concept of helping people find work, build independence, and have successful lives and that work, we do something really great. We help people on their journeys and we help businesses thrive. But so often it becomes about me, and earning a fee and building our own egos rather than actually the people that we're here to support.
Okay, yeah. So it's a marketing concept ultimately. Put the customer first, but we overlook it because we're building up people as like a big biller almost, and they're great at what they do. They're the best recruitment consultant because they earn the most, as opposed to actually what emotional value has their customer base gleaned from the changes they've made to their life. So portray more of a helpful outlook than a I'm good at making money outlook.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right, like within every business, everyone knows the name of the top biller, don't they? But why do they know their name? Not because of the value that they've brought to their community, but because they earn the biggest commission check and they go on all the incentive events. And I think that we can idolise some of those personalities based on their ability to do good business, which is great internally. But I would really like to challenge and say, actually, show me the people that you've helped change careers, show me the people that you've helped to get a promotion that they would have never considered. Show me how you've helped a small to medium-sized business to flourish with your service offering
Yeah.
and consultancy. And I just don't think a lot of people are doing that. I think a lot of people are saying, look at me, look at my incentive trip, look at our great kind of high performance culture, and it's tired.
Okay, no, that's fair. I think we can be conduits to changing that. I think some businesses have got over that
Yeah.
kind of trend, but yet still, I think a lot of recruitment businesses, arguably at a smaller scale, still struggle with how do we incentivize people to do the recruitment roles without it being all about money. That doesn't mean that's all you shout about from the rooftops. On the
Right.
flip side, what do you see that I suppose recruitment marketers and recruitment businesses are missing a trick on, like from a marketer's perspective? Have you seen anything either you guys are doing or in different industries that you just think, why are we not adopting that more widely?
Mm. I've always taken quite a lot of inspiration from the dating market in terms of marketing. There was an app that I've never used it, to be fair, but it was called Thursday. I think it's still around, and the
Yeah,
service is only available on a Thursday. And it's
yeah,
the idea that you have to um, match with someone, talk to them, and meet with them on the same day, and like playing with that immediacy, and then also
yeah,
going on about that scarcity mindset as well, right? Because it's only available on a Thursday. If you don't use it this Thursday, you have to wait until next Thursday until it's available again. And it's that use of tech to drive human
yeah,
connection, right? Which is effectively what recruitment is as well. And we're a matchmaking service, whether we like it or not. So I wonder
yeah,
how much we could learn from that dating market. Maybe how many of more of our businesses work on more of a Tinder mentality of like swiping yes or no to candidates and jobs, when actually we should be thinking more about maybe that Thursday analogy, about that scarcity, about it's only available, and get people to connect and meet on the same day and kind of
yeah,
get that momentum
yeah.
going. Or
So
maybe,
don't carbon copy a concept, swipe right to see this CV,
yeah,
but take kind of lessons from what they're doing as tactical stuff that we could apply to recruitment
yeah,
marketing or to just general marketing of the business.
yeah. So like, I will give
I
you
think
6 interviews on Thursday afternoon, but I'm only going to show you the CVs in the morning, and we're going to get that, because one of the biggest challenges that we have with a business is that actually feedback can take weeks, and hiring processes, and not having those great relationships.
yeah,
Imagine if you could say, I'm not going to send you CVs, I'm going to book you interview slots, and they're going to happen on that day,
yeah.
and
I'm going
get
to send you the CVs on Thursday morning. They'll disappear by the end of Thursday. Yeah, because it is that like, how do you urgency? Yeah, get some urgency from the clients to speed the process up. Um, yeah, there's a tactic in certain markets. You can see how that would work because I don't want to miss out on that talent, but it's not top of my list. I'll review them tomorrow. Well, if they're not going to be there tomorrow, you're gonna prioritize that. There might be
yeah,
some companies that can try that. Like I'm only sending you these. I don't know how you do it. There's a tech idea there, isn't there? Disappearing
yeah,
CVs.
yeah.
Uh,
And yeah, like the whole love is blind kind of thought as well, in terms of that you can hide kind of like personal details, and you just focus on the skill set and that talent based hiring, that skills based hiring, um, as a tactic or a concept in terms of driving change, um, taking out unconscious bias within the process. I think, yeah, I quite like to borrow that from that industry.
Yeah. Doesn't WhatsApp and stuff allow you to do disappearing messages? There's a concept there, isn't there? I'd never really understood why you would want to do that, but I'm now my brain's ticking now, thinking, is there something in that where we could do where people could spec CVs, but they have a countdown on them. If you don't give me
Mhm.
feedback by X, the CV will no longer be there.
No
So
longer.
I'm going to propose
Yeah.
that one. Watch this
Well,
space. Right, we're into the quick fire questions, which are always the most
mhm.
fun. So what's a technology you couldn't live without, Marie? So it can be anything, work or home life. What if it disappeared tomorrow? You'd be knackered. Oh,
I've got one of
multifunction.
each. So my first one is Todoist. I use it in my
Okay.
personal life, but also at work. If it isn't in my to-do list, it doesn't exist. My brain holds so many things that I don't do. So I set up
Yeah.
recurring reminders for watering my plants, to setting up recurring reminders to remind me to check in with stakeholders, um, and all of those different things. So Todoist runs my life.
Yeah.
Other is my Kindle. I love reading and I take it everywhere. Yeah.
Never
I
leaves my side.
Yeah, I mine's nearly like 7 or 8 years old. I think it's really old now, and I still carry it everywhere with me. And having my whole library in my back pocket, as someone who is a real anxiety-ridden overthinker, having a book that I can get out when I have downtime and escape into another world makes me a better human. It makes me a better marketer, and it makes me a better mother and wife. So actually, that escapism is really important. So I take my Kindle everywhere with me.
Interesting question because a big. I've got two. I've got one at the side of my bed and one that I move around. Um, do you read fiction or non-fiction or both? It's really
Fiction,
interesting this.
fiction,
Okay,
exclusively fiction.
because it has to be escape.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It is a
Yeah.
escape for me. I do listen to quite a bit of non-fiction in audio books and podcasts, but I use that differently because I used to find that when I'm reading non-fiction, it almost feels like work because I'm reading non-fiction about
Mm,
business or marketing and it didn't feel
yeah.
like an escape. It felt so for me pure,
Yeah.
and I felt a bit of fantasy fiction as well, so like a completely different world that I can
Yeah.
escape into.
Yeah. Excellent answer. So, you might answer this. This might follow suit. But favorite brand? What's your favorite brand?
So this one's a bit left field. um, so it's actually pedigree dog food, and particularly, so
I did not
you never
expect
expected
that.
that, did you?
No.
So when I did my
I
first
hope you've got.
interview,
I really, really hope you've got a dog.
I don't. I have a cat. That shows my
But
love for this brand, right? So I love an audio motive. I think it's so powerful in triggering memories. And Pedigree did a campaign like 15 years ago for their Jumbo, which is like a dog
yeah.
treat. And the
Yeah.
and the tagline they did was om and om and om. And so it's about the dog enjoying om and om and om, this dog treat. And I never forget it. And when anyone ever talks to me about what's my favourite marketing campaign or what my favourite brand, I always go back to Pedigree in terms of that they have a really simple concept about making dogs happy but that om and om has never left me. And
It's
I
just
use that as my
stunning.
example as my favourite marketing campaign in my first interview as a marketing exec after uni. And I've taken it with me. I just love it. I think it's so simple and I never forget it. Isn't that what we want marketing to be?
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's it is. I, the brand took me by surprise. The fact that you don't have a dog adds to it, but the the why that's your favorite brand is totally understandable because it's memorable. That there is some like similar. I think it's perhaps that late 90s, early 2000s advertising style. Like there's a lot of chocolate biscuit ads that I distinctly remember because of the way it was done. That I'm not going to sing them because they'll get stuck in my head for the day. But yeah, that's really interesting. So
Yeah, I think
flip that one around, and if the answer's whiskers, I'll be blown away. What's your least favorite brand?
my least favourite brand is actually one that I use regularly, and that is Amazon. I think that they've got an amazing business model in terms of that kind of availability, but in terms of a brand, I don't particularly like it. I think that it's all about availability. I think their brand, like everyone uses Amazon not because they love them as a brand and they have a really good feel about them and they stand for good things. They use them because there isn't a lot of competition in the market and it's convenient. And I
Yeah.
think that
Conflict with the Kindle there, isn't there? There's a conflict with the device
yeah,
that you really
exactly,
love, but the monopoly behind it.
exactly.
Yeah,
And I
I'm. similar with the convenience factor's great, and I slip back into it regularly, but I never
Mhm.
feel good about it. Like
No.
some brands you feel good about. Amazon feels like a necessary evil.
Exactly that. And then I've kind of got like Starbucks in that same sort of category in terms of I think they've got quite a strong brand, but I don't feel good that they're known for not treating their workers particularly well, or Amazon particularly, or they're known for not paying their taxes. And I don't feel good about using them as brands. I use them because there's a
Yeah,
Starbucks in every service station or every train station up and down the country. And I will only use
yeah,
them if there isn't an alternative available. But I want to feel good about the brands that I work with. I want to feel good about the companies that I'm working with. And I think that they need to work harder to be able to
yeah.
build better businesses that stand for something rather than just be
Yeah,
convenient.
it's almost like a frustration that we know. I don't know any financial information about Starbucks, but we know for a fact that Amazon has money. It's not struggling to stay afloat. Yet the lack of what we would class as decent levels of pay for people doing jobs throughout that entire mechanism that makes us able to get whatever delivered at 8 o'clock tonight. It just frustrates you somewhat, doesn't it? Because it's like we know they've got money, we know they can afford to pay them, but I guess that's the capitalism and the commercial aspect of why they are where they are.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm with you on that. I'll still
maybe.
go and order something later today, but I'll
Yeah, I
painfully
think that's
get
the
it.
thing. They're only successful businesses because they exploit everyone else in that chain, don't they? And that doesn't sit well. Whereas
Yeah,
I believe Pedigree, I hope that those dogs are getting those dog treats as part of those advertising campaigns. They actually get to eat it.
you know, on in respect to your favourite brand, when I walk the dog later, I'm going to pop in the co-op and buy him a jumbo,
Thank
and I'll take
you.
you a picture and send it because that's 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 how branding works, right? You've influenced me to want to go and buy something from Pedigree, and if they try and track the source of that revenue, it'll go way back when to that advert. There's some marketer going, oh, that's it, sales of, we haven't sold any jumbos in the Heat and Mo Stockport co-op for 6 years, and one's been sold today. I wonder how that happened. Last but not least, and you can apply this to your least favorite brand if you really want. But what's your favorite swear word?
I love a good traditional fuck.
Yeah,
When
it's a
you
good one,
when
isn't
you
it?
realise that you made a spelling mistake in your email subject line, you go.
Fuck. Yeah.
And I have a toddler in the house now, and she's learning to talk, and I have to kind of click my. But every now that's the one. It always comes out. So.
We we picked up on my daughter is 3. We picked
Mhm.
up on her saying "for God's sake" recently, and I was like, I don't really see it say that often. And then I was around at our in-laws, and I heard my mother-in-law go "for God's sake," and I was like, oh. So yeah, they pick up on these things. So be
Absolutely.
careful. Be careful next time you say "fuck Amazon."
Yeah, exactly. As I'm downloading my next Kindle book.
Yeah. Marie, that's been a pleasure. It's been fun, but very educational. I think from Pedigree back to Zelda. I reckon there's a lot of Zelda fans in CLM. I reckon people who end up in a recruitment marketing career like role playing games. I
Mm,
think there's a synergy there. So I'm going to put a poll in. What proportion of TLM likes the Legend of Zelda? It's an interesting one. I've
mm,
just thought about it. I once put a presentation together for Darren last year about Pager, and I put a, what's it called? What's the sword called? The Master Sword? Can't remember the name of the sword.
yeah.
And the Triforce. I put both of them in his presentation. He's like, "What are you going on about?" I go, "Bet it resonates with some." Anyway, right, we'll leave it there.
Thanks for your time. It's great to chat.
No, thanks very much. Thank you for listening to the Lonely Marketers podcast. If you would like to join like-minded recruitment marketers in our WhatsApp group, visit the LinkedIn page and scan the QR code in the banner. This podcast is created by the team at Pager. For more information about how Pager can help build personal brands for your recruiters and scale your content distribution efforts, visit paiger.co. paiger.co. You can find me on LinkedIn if you'd like to connect for more content about recruitment marketing.